You're ready to dive in and start knitting your first sweater, but you're not sure where to start. There are just so many patterns to choose from. Well, I've narrowed it down to 12 choices today that are all perfectly suitable for beginner knitters, 6 top-down raglan sweaters, and 6 top-down circular yoke sweaters. We're going to look at all of these, and you can choose one and start knitting your first sweater today. Hey nerdy knitter, Tonia here. I'm a certified knitting instructor and a master hand knitter, and I want to help you knit sweaters that fit so you can wear them with confidence and pride, or knit them for your loved ones and let them wear them, and you can still feel confident that you've knit something that they're going to love wearing. Now, I know that sweater knitting is a big topic because people are either very intimidated by it or they're just not sure where to start. There's a lot of patterns available today, and it's overwhelming to try to narrow that down, especially if you haven't knit a sweater before. We're going to look at 12 today. They're all worked top down, which is a pretty popular method. We're going to explore other options in the future, but this is one that a lot of people like. But if you want to get started with sweater knitting and you want to knit one of these top down sweaters, I've picked out 12 that I think are fairly simple. They're all pretty much stockinette stitch, so you're not having to like deal with the stitch pattern and all of the shaping that's going on up here, because there's a lot going on when you're working top down. You've got all the shaping that's happening. So it's better to focus on that. Maybe add in some stripes or something like that if you want some color in there. But focusing on a simple pattern is a good way to start. So these 12 patterns, they're all fairly similar. I mean, there's not many ways you can write a top-down raglan or a circular yoke basic stockinette sweater. But it really comes down to finding a pattern that is easy for you to decipher. So I've knit some of these patterns. I haven't knit all of them, but I have read through the instructions, or, you know, I can get an idea from looking at it whether it's suitable for a beginner. But so all of these definitely fall within that camp. There might be some skills that you don't have and you have to develop as you knit a sweater. Something like short rows might come up, and that is an important skill for you to have. So don't be scared of something like that. Use your knitting pattern as an opportunity to learn these skills that you don't possess at that point in time. I still do that. When I pick a knitting pattern, it's often because I really am drawn to the stitch pattern, or there's some new technique that I don't know how to do and I want to learn how to do it. So I choose a pattern where I can learn that new skill. So it's a good opportunity to learn those skills when you're knitting a sweater. So even though the sweaters might be very, very similar, you might find one designer where you can just understand the way they write and it just speaks to you. It's very easy for you to follow. Where another designer, the pattern could be very similar, but the words they use, maybe it's harder for you to figure out what they're saying, and that's totally normal. I have had that happen myself, where one designer, it's very, very easy for me to sort of follow along with their pattern, and another one where I have to kind of think about what they're saying because it doesn't really translate in my mind. So even though two sweaters might look the same, the way they're written might be kind of different, and you might find one easier to follow than another. So we're not going to look at the pattern instructions, but even though the patterns are similar, the way the patterns are written might not be as similar, and you might find one that is easier for you to follow. So all of the patterns are fairly simple, stockinette stitch, and just pretty easy, so you can focus on the construction of the sweater. So the two sweater types are raglans and circular yoke. So a raglan sweater has these sort of increase or decrease lines. You can see these diagonal lines on my sweater. Now, in a raglan, when you're working top down, you have 8 increase points where you are increasing 2 for each sleeve, 2 for the front and the back. So 8 stitches you're increasing on every increase round. And that gives you like this shape. So you're shaping your sleeves and your body all at the same time. Now a circular yoke has the same sort of number of stitches that you're increasing by, but they're not necessarily 8 stitches every other round. They are distributed differently. You might have like 4 increase rounds. The sweater behind me is a circular yoke. So you might have, I think that one has 4 increase rounds altogether. So a raglan, you're increasing like every other round for the whole depth of the yoke. For a circular yoke, you might be knitting straight for a couple of inches and then increase a whole bunch of stitches in one go. Knit straight for a couple more inches, repeat that increase round, and then you're going to do that a couple of times. There's some other ways to work circular yokes as well, where those increases can be distributed in different ways. But raglan, circular yokes, they're fairly similar. They don't have any seams up the top like this, like a drop shoulder or a set-in sleeve might have some seams. So there's less structure, and a lot of people just find them really fun to cast on and you're doing everything all at once. But it can be a little intimidating for a beginner because you are doing everything all at once as you're working top down, where if you knit bottom up, you're getting a little chance to get used to like just doing, if you're doing a stitch pattern or something, before you've got to deal with like all of the shaping for the shoulders and the neck and the yoke part of the sweater. But all the sweaters we're going to look at are fairly basic. So let's get right to my screen and we will look at them together. My first recommendation is Flax by Tin Can Knits. I know everybody mentions this pattern, but it's mentioned for good reason. It's a very clear, well-written pattern like all of their patterns, and it's just highly recommended. It's popular for a reason because it's just a good pattern. Now I have knit this one myself. The sweater I'm wearing is Flax by Tin Can Knits in the worsted weight version that's right here on the screen. So I made a lot of customizations. If you can see me down here in the corner, I turned it into a V-neck. I used two different sizes, one size for the sleeves, another size for the body. I added a short row bust dart. I added waist shaping. I did a ton of modifications to this. I'll tell you a little bit about that again in after we talk about our Raglan sweaters, but I highly recommend this pattern as a knitting teacher and somebody who helps people with their knitting projects because it's just very well written pattern. Tin Can Knits, they have their own app now where you can look at just the one particular size that you're working on, so you don't have to see all of the sizes. They've got lots of great tutorials on their website. Like, there's just so many good things. Their patterns are very clear and well written. They sometimes have sketches and diagrams for like little tricky things that might be in the pattern. The size availability is from babies to like a 6XL for adults. Like, this pattern in particular has so many sizes, and that's actually something I recommend. If you don't want to knit like a full-size adult sweater, just knit a baby sweater. Even if you don't have a baby or know any babies, just knit one just to learn how to do the construction. And this pattern is a great way to do that. It's also free, which is probably one of the reasons it's so popular, because it's just very clear and well written, great number of sizes, a free pattern. It's also available in different yarn weights. They have like a sock weight version, a DK weight, and this one on the screen is worsted weight version, but it's just a very good pattern. I highly recommend it. So it is a top-down Raglan sweater. If you look closely, you can see like there are like those Raglan lines right there. Just plain stockinette, 1x1 rib. This one does have a little bit of garter stitch panel down the arm, which is pretty fun. It just adds that little, textured element to it. It's also a good place to swap things out. You can take that panel of garter stitch and pop in something else if there's another stitch pattern you prefer, or skip it all together. I didn't even put anything on mine. I just did plain stockinette stitch, but that is a nice place to just add something fun if you wanted to. But yes, very basic, simple sweater, just plain stockinette, with the only addition would be like that garter stitch that's down the sleeves. My second recommendation is the Cozy Classic Raglan by Jessie Maed Designs. Now, I have not knit any of her designs, but I chose this one because it's pretty popular. It has a wide size range from an extra small to a 5XL, so a 28-inch bust up to a 62-inch bust, so a nice good broad range there. This version's a DK weight, but there's also another one that is available in a sock weight version. But this one I chose, even though I haven't knit any of her patterns, but they are popular, especially for women who have larger busts. But if we look at the pattern itself, it's a simple raglan. So you mean just stockinette stitch, more of that 1x1 rib. You can see it's got a very deep armhole here, so it is fairly oversized, but you don't have to wear it oversized. This one isn't. This one's more form-fitting on her. But if you go through, I like to go through the pictures and see like the pictures of the models and stuff and see how it looks on their bodies as well. But one of the things I've noticed about her patterns is she has some really good instructions about looking at your bust and the amount of ease and the recommended ease and how that might look based on your bust. And even with the photos, like they tell you like the size of the garment and then that tells you the size of the bust. So you can really get a good idea of how it's going to look on your body. So I just think that's a really great feature to have in a pattern before you even purchase the pattern, is just to see how is it going to look on, like what's my bust size? Is there a model here, somebody who's wearing a similar size? So I can pick a size that will give me that kind of a fit. Like, I just think her instructions here on this page are very helpful, especially if you have a larger bust. So that is the Cozy Classic Raglan from Jessie Maed Designs. Our next sweater is this Step by Step sweater by Florence Miller. Now, this is another one that is very popular for a reason. It's another free pattern, but as the other two, they all look fairly similar. If you ignore the color, I mean, is the thing that makes them all look different. But 1 by 1 rib again, just plain stockinette stitch. You can see the Raglan line right there. So they're all very similar in that regard. What sets them apart is the instructions and how they are written and who they're really targeted for. Like Flax is targeted, you know, for your whole family. If you want baby sweater or adult sweater, really clear instructions. The Jessie Maed pattern is focused on a larger bust and how to choose a size for that bust. This one has a video tutorial, so it's another one that's great for beginners, especially those who want a tutorial that will walk them through everything. So this one comes in, I don't know how many different sizes, but from a 35-inch bust up to a 59-inch bust, so a nice wide range. The yarn for this one is an Aran weight yarn, but does have video tutorial. So this is another one that is great for beginners because it's not really any complicated techniques here. Just all the basics things that you're gonna need for a top-down sweater. Now, one note, it does say right here, optional short row shaping is included. Now, I'm not gonna say, I don't think it should be optional. You should add short rows. If it's not in the pattern, you should learn to add them. Maybe not your first sweater, but it's going to fit you better. If you want that sweater to fit you well in the neckline, you're going to want to learn how to do short rows for the neckline. So use this sweater, your first sweater, as a learning opportunity to add those for your sweaters. You don't need to add them for every sweater, but if you're knitting a top-down circular yoke or raglan and you're starting right in the round right away, then stopping and adding some short rows is a good thing to do to drop the front neck, raise the back neck, and make sure the neckline is going to fit you well. So while she says optional, I think if you're going to do something that has this whole video tutorial for you anyway, go ahead and do the short rows too. Oh, so sizes are right here as well. So there are 7 sizes, and like I said, that goes from a 35-inch up to a 59-inch bust, Aran weight yarn, and you can see her samples here. She's added some stripes, so if you wanted to add something to it, then you know, a fun stripe is a way to add something that still fairly basic, stockinette stitch, 1 by 1 rib, raglan, but add some stripes for something fun. So our next one is the Winter Bluff Pullover from Ashley Lillis. This is another one that includes a tutorial, and you can see just like the others, pretty simple, pretty plain, stockinette stitch, 1 by 1 rib again. They're all pretty much, I mean, there's not much variation when it comes to a basic beginner top-down raglan. Where the difference is in the video tutorials or the instructions, how things are written. So you can kind of like pick the one that suits you the best. So this one is also, I think, a free pattern and video tutorial. It comes with, let me see, I don't know how many sizes again, but 36-inch to, 8 sizes, 36-inch to a 55-inch bust, worsted weight yarn. I think she might have some in some other yarn weights as well that are very similar. So the pattern is right here on, well, those are all of the things that you need for the pattern. I think, you can access the pattern right here. I think it is a free pattern and a full video tutorial. So another one, if you like a video tutorial with your projects, then this is another one that you could check out. Now next is the Felix Pullover by Amy Christoffers. So I have not done this one, but she also has the Felix cardigan, which is the same pattern. I have knit that one, and her instructions are nice and clear and easy to read. And this one does have, instead of just the plain diagonal line, you've got a little bit of lace right there. Very, very simple lace. You can see right there along the sleeve. So you just, follow the pattern. It tells you exactly how to do that. But if you want something that adds a little touch, a little detail in there, then this is going to be a good pattern for you. So it's still a raglan. It just has the increases worked a little differently, and these eyelets that look like a little lace that are running down the arm instead. But still a 1 by 1 rib, stockinette, fairly plain sweater, but it does have that shaping instead for the raglan line. So the sizing on this one goes from a 39-inch bust to a 57-inch bust, but just 5 different sizes. But the size range is pretty good, I think, especially when it comes to a raglan, which you can wear more oversized. And this one uses an Aran weight yarn. I know when I knit my cardigan, I did it in like a blown yarn, and it's one of my favorite cardigans. It's so lightweight and nice to wear. So this one is very cute, and I just like the addition of that little eyelet section. So our last raglan sweater is the Classic by Espace Tricot. So again, very plain, stockinette stitch, deep armhole here, a taller neckline. I think that's twisted rib for the neckline, and then a nice deep cuff, and it looks like a split hem. So a couple like very basic like differences from the other sweaters. Nothing huge. They're still plain stockinette top down raglan. But it just looks a little bit more refined, a little different, you know, just the way that the cuffs and the hem are worked. This one's done with a DK weight yarn, and it goes from a 43-inch bust up to a 64-inch bust. But it's still a fairly, I mean, it's just a basic raglan, but it just looks a little different than the other designs. The neckline is different, the hem is different, and I think this one used two yarns, yes, two yarns held together, so you've got that fuzzy texture if that's something that you wanted to do. But another very basic raglan sweater. So that covers our raglan sweaters. Now, before we move on to the circular yokes, I just want to pause for 1 second and tell you about my course, the Knits That Fit course. It's all about taking a pattern like this, either a top-down raglan or a top-down circular yoke, and customizing it to fit your body. Now, if you're one of those lucky people who can just knit a pattern and it's going to fit you great, that's totally fine. For the rest of us, we probably have to make some adjustments, like the sleeve length or the body length, the sleeve circumference, the bust. We might have to do some bust shaping. There's lots of things that you can customize to get a really good fit on your sweater, and that's what this class is for. It walks you through how to choose a pattern, pretty much one of the patterns we're talking about in this video. They're recommended in my course. You start with one of those, and then I show you how to use your swatch and your body measurements to customize the fit of that sweater. Sometimes that even might take taking two different sizes and combining them, like I did for my Flax sweater here. Yes, this is the Flax by Tin Can Knits. Modified it a lot. Two different sizes, one size for the sleeves, one size for the body. And I walk you through all of that in this class. So there are two versions of the class. There's a self-study version where you can just purchase it and dive right in and do it on your own time whenever you feel like it. And I also have a group coaching session that's going to be opening up again very soon. So if you're interested in the coaching version, check out the waiting list down below and get on that list, because I'll be sending an email out when that is open. It's the same exact course as the self-study, but we will take 10 weeks to work through the process together. We'll have weekly coaching sessions on Zoom with all of the students. You can ask your questions and I can coach you through it. So you can decide which version is best for you. You'll find links for both of them down below. Now let's get to our top-down circular yoke patterns. Now we're ready to move on to our circular yoke patterns, and the first one is mine. It's called the Stardust yoke sweater. The mannequin that's behind me, you can see the picture of it right here. So this one is a top-down circular yoke, and it is specifically for beginners. There's a full video tutorial, and there are lots of customization options. There is a short sleeve, a long sleeve, a balloon sleeve. There are different body lengths. There's two different necklines. The mannequin has like the high crew neck. I'm wearing like the lower boat neck version. And let me see, there's also two extra worksheets if you wanted to add waist shaping or adjust for a full bust. There's bonus worksheets added for that. So just it's for beginners because there's a full video tutorial, but it's really aimed at helping you like get a better fit with your, even with your first sweater. Oh, and the edgings as well. There's like reverse stockinette edging, a 1x1 rib, and a twisted rib, I think. There's so many things in the pattern, I can't even keep them all straight. But it's definitely, this is for beginners. That's why I wrote the pattern. It goes from a 32-inch bust to a 64-inch bust, and it uses sport weight yarn. So our next sweater is the Drea Renee Knits or DRK Everyday sweater. So this one is another one that's fairly simple. I think you're going to find there's more variation in the circular yokes. Top-down raglans, they're all going to look pretty similar beyond like maybe adding some stripes. But with circular yokes, you can start to like, there just seems to be a little more variation. But the basic pattern is still pretty similar. Like it's still going to have some shaping through the yoke part of the sweater, like up in this top part, however that is made. It's going to be made with lots of increases, maybe 3 or 4 increase rows, maybe some other ways of doing that. But you can see this one is a little more cropped. The neckline's a little bit higher. It's got a deeper, almost like a mock neck, a nice deep hem. This one is also done in sport weight yarn from a 34-inch to a 66-inch bust. But it's pretty simple, like just plain stockinette, pretty basic sweater. Now, I haven't knit this one either, but I have knit a number of Andrea's patterns, and they're all very clearly well written. So I wouldn't think this pattern would be any different than those. Next is the Easy Eyelet Yoke sweater by Knitatude, and this is another one that is absolutely written for beginners. So it uses an Aran weight yarn, comes in a good number of sizes from a 28-inch to a 61-inch bust. It's very simple and clear, and you can even see like how the yoke is done. Like there are 4 increase rounds. We can see that right away because she uses eyelets for it, and that's where you're increasing to get the shape of the yoke. Very, very simple, just plain stockinette. And I don't even know, is there any ribbing? Oh yeah, there is some ribbing here at the cuff and a little bit at the hem. And it's a very basic, simple sweater. Uses those yarn overs, the eyelets, to create the yoke of the sweater, and then just stockinette stitch. So very simple and clean. Now here's another one by Tin Can Knits. Now I have not knit this one, but it's another top-down circular yoke sweater, and I've knit a number of their patterns. They're all clearly written, so I imagine that this one would be exactly the same. So if we look closely, you can see, if you look, you can see that like the previous one, you can really see how the shaping is done with all of these like eyelets, the yarn overs that are added there. And if you look here, try to look closely, it's harder to see, but if you look closely on the screen, maybe on this one, it'll show up a little better. Nope. Oh, there we go. There you can see the increases are worked on these lines instead. They're increased in the same spot along those lines. So if we look right there, you can kind of see them kind of sprouting out and spiraling around the sweater. So the increases are done a little bit differently on this one. Oh, you can see them in there too as well. So another optional way to create a circular yoke, or another way the increases can be worked. So like all of the Tin Can Knits patterns, well, I don't know if all of them, but this one is also written from baby size up to a 6XL. So large range of sizes. You can most likely find it in their app, I would imagine. But their patterns are always very clearly well written. And this one comes in different gauges as well. So there's a sock weight, sport weight, DK, and worsted. So you can basically choose your yarn and you've got the pattern already. So another one that is pretty simple. The increases are done a little differently, but it's just plain stockinette, some ribbing at the cuffs and the collar and the hem. Next is the super simple summer sweater from Joji Locatelli. So another one that is pretty basic. This one does have some stripes. These last two do have that addition of stripes, but what's nice about a circular yoke is it's so easy to just add them in if you wanted to. But other than that, it's just a basic shape of a circular yoke. I don't know if we can see a close-up on how the shaping is done. Not really. But so there are some stripes in here, just basic 1 by 1, a split hem at the bottom. So fairly simple again. I mean, they're all going to be pretty much the same. There's not much variation when you're looking at a very beginner sweater. But I have not knit this one, but I've knit some of her other patterns. They're very clearly well written and her sizing is good. So this is another one that I think would be pretty simple for a beginner to do. Now it comes in sizes from a 36 or from an extra small to a 5XL, from a 36-inch to a 69-inch bust, and this one's in worsted weight yarn. Now our last one is another one from Andrea Mowry, her stripes sweater. So here's another one if you wanted something a little bit different that has like some color work in there. This is the simplest color work you can do, is to just add some stripes like this. So this one uses a sport weight yarn. It comes in a range of sizes from a 34-inch bust to a 72-inch bust. And I haven't knit this one, but I've knit others of hers, and her patterns are always nice and clearly well written. So if we just quickly look through, oh, and there's another version of it. So if you want a more neutral striped sweater, and you can see it's again very, very simple. It's just stockinette stitch and some ribbing at the cuffs and hem and neckline. And I don't know if we can see a close-up on the shaping, but you can kind of see some of the increases worked up here. But another fairly simple, just top down circular yoke. So it really comes down to which pattern writer is easiest for you to follow in these types of patterns. So those are my 12 recommendations, and I'm sure you might have some as well. If you've watched this and you have some beginner friendly sweater patterns that I didn't mention, I'd love to hear about them. So please leave a comment and tell me about those patterns. And if you're ready to start knitting your first sweater, be sure to grab one of these patterns. All of them are great and perfect for beginners. And if you want a little extra guidance, be sure to check out my course, the Knits That Fit class, either the self-study version or the group coaching, where I can help you work through the process of knitting your sweater. So you'll find those links down below, and I'll see you in the next video.